The world has become so loud that most people have completely forgotten what their own mind sounds like in silence. Most people do not realize how noisy their mind has become, not because the world is loud physically, but because the mind is constantly receiving information, distractions, opinions, emotions, and stimulation without rest. From the moment people wake up, noise begins entering their awareness. Notifications, social media, conversations, videos, music, endless thoughts, endless scrolling, endless mental activity. And slowly, the mind loses silence completely. At first, this constant noise feels normal because everyone around you is living the same way. Being mentally busy becomes accepted as modern life. People move from one distraction to another without ever stopping long enough to notice what is happening inside them. But the problem is that the mind was never designed to carry non-stop stimulation all day without consequences. Because noise does not only affect your ears, it affects your thoughts, emotions, attention, and inner peace. When the mind is constantly overloaded, clarity disappears. You begin thinking too much but understanding too little. Your attention becomes weaker. Your emotions become more reactive. Even simple moments of silence start feeling uncomfortable because the mind has become addicted to stimulation. And this addiction to noise creates a strange emptiness inside people. The moment silence appears, they immediately reach for distraction. Again, a phone, a video, music, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. And without realizing it, they lose connection with themselves completely. Because constant noise keeps the mind externally focused all the time. You become so busy consuming information from the outside world that you stop listening to your own inner world. And over time, this creates exhaustion. Not always physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion. The kind where your body is resting, but your mind still feels tired. The kind where even after sleeping, your thoughts still feel heavy. Because your brain never truly slows down. It keeps processing information endlessly without silence, without stillness, without space to breathe. And slowly the noise becomes internal too. Even when external sounds disappear, your mind keeps talking, thinking, replaying, imagining, worrying, reacting. The noise continues inside you long after the outside world becomes quiet. This is why many people struggle to feel peace even when they are alone. Because the real noise is no longer outside them. It is inside their own mind. And the longer this continues, the more disconnected people become from clarity, awareness, and emotional balance. Because silence is where the mind recovers. Silence is where thoughts slow down enough for you to actually understand them. Silence is where emotions settle instead of constantly reacting. Silence is where awareness becomes stronger than distraction, but most people never allow themselves to experience enough silence to reach that state. They stay surrounded by noise, because silence feels unfamiliar. Yet the truth is, the mind does not become stronger through constant stimulation. It becomes stronger through stillness, reflection, and intentional quiet. Because only in silence can the mind truly reset. Only in silence can you hear yourself clearly again. And the moment you realize that the constant noise surrounding your life is not entertaining your mind but slowly exhausting it, distracting it, and disconnecting it from real peace is the moment you begin seeking silence. Not as emptiness, but as the space where your mind can finally breathe again. Silence has a strange power that most people avoid experiencing. The moment external noise disappears, something deeper begins to happen. You start hearing yourself clearly. And for many people that feels uncomfortable at first because noise has been covering things they never wanted to face. That is why people stay busy constantly, not always because they are productive, but because constant noise protects them from inner awareness. As long as the mind stays distracted, deeper thoughts remain hidden beneath the surface. But when silence arrives, those hidden thoughts slowly begin to rise. You start noticing emotions you ignored. You start recognizing fears you buried. You start hearing thoughts that were always there, but drowned out by distractions. And this is why silence feels intense in the beginning, because silence removes escape. When there is no music, no scrolling, no endless stimulation, the mind no longer has places to hide. You are finally left alone, with yourself. And in that space, truth begins appearing. Not the truth people expect you to believe, not the opinions of the world, but your own inner truth, the things you genuinely feel, the things you are avoiding, the things your mind has been trying to tell you beneath all the noise. This is why silence becomes transformational, because it reveals what distractions we're covering. Many people spend years surrounded by noise because they are afraid of what silence might show them. Silence may reveal exhaustion they never admitted. It may reveal unhappiness hidden beneath constant entertainment. It may reveal fear, loneliness, confusion, or emotional pain that distractions temporarily covered but never healed. And yet, this revelation is not weakness. It is awareness, because you cannot heal what you refuse to see. Noise hides problems, temporarily, but silence exposes them honestly. And honesty is where real change begins. When you sit in silence long enough, something inside you starts becoming clearer. Your thoughts slow down. Your emotional reactions settle. The mental fog begins lifting. And for the first time in a long time, you begin hearing your own mind without interference from the outside world. This is where self-awareness grows. You begin understanding why certain things affect you deeply. You begin noticing patterns in your thinking. You begin realizing how much of your stress came not from reality, but from constant overstimulation and mental escape. And slowly, silence starts feeling less uncomfortable. In fact, it begins feeling peaceful, because once the noise fades, you realize how exhausted your mind truly was. You realize how much energy was being consumed by endless distraction. And you begin appreciating stillness in a completely different way. Not as emptiness, but as clarity. Because silence is not the absence of life. It is the space where life finally becomes understandable again. It is where your thoughts stop competing with constant stimulation. It is where emotions become visible instead of buried. It is where your inner voice becomes louder than external pressure. And over time, silence starts teaching you things noise never could. It teaches patience, awareness, emotional honesty, mental clarity. Because silence does not distract you from yourself. It reconnects you to yourself. And the moment you stop fearing silence and finally allow yourself to sit long enough without distraction to truly hear your own thoughts, emotions, and inner truth is the moment you begin discovering parts of yourself that constant noise was quietly hiding from you all along. A quiet mind sees life differently. Not because problems disappear, but because silence changes the way the mind responds to them. Most people are trying to find clarity while living in constant mental noise, but clarity cannot grow inside chaos. A mind filled with non-stop distraction, emotional reactions, and endless stimulation becomes too crowded to think deeply. And this is why so many people feel mentally exhausted today. Not because they are thinking clearly, but because they are thinking constantly. There is a difference. Constant thinking creates pressure. Clear thinking creates understanding. And silence is what allows that understanding to happen. When the mind becomes quiet, something powerful begins to change internally. Your thoughts slow down enough for you to actually observe them instead of being controlled by them. You stop reacting instantly to every emotion, every fear, every distraction. Instead, awareness begins entering the space between your thoughts, and that awareness creates clarity, because silence gives the mind room to breathe. In noise, everything feels urgent. Every notification feels important. Every opinion feels necessary. Every emotion feels overwhelming. But in silence, the mind starts separating what truly matters from what only feels important temporarily. And this changes decision-making completely. People with noisy minds often make emotional decisions. They react quickly, overthink constantly, and struggle to focus because their attention is divided in too many directions at once. But a quiet mind becomes more intentional. It pauses before reacting. It observes before responding. It thinks deeply instead of impulsively, and this creates emotional stability, because silence slows the emotional chaos inside the mind. When your thoughts are calmer, your emotions become easier to manage. You stop feeling mentally pulled in every direction. You stop becoming controlled by every temporary feeling, and slowly you begin developing inner balance. This is why silence is not weakness. It is strength. A quiet mind is not empty. It is focused. It does not waste energy on unnecessary noise. It does not react to every distraction. It understands that peace comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling your attention within it. And the more silence you allow into your life, the more aware you become of how much unnecessary mental activity was draining your energy. Before, you begin noticing how much of your stress came from overthinking, how much confusion came from overstimulation, how many emotional reactions came from mental exhaustion. And with that awareness, your mind starts simplifying itself naturally. You stop forcing thoughts. You stop chasing endless stimulation. You stop needing constant noise to feel occupied. Instead, you become more present. And presence creates clarity, because when the mind is quiet, you can finally hear what matters clearly. Your priorities become more visible. Your emotions become easier to understand. Your intuition becomes stronger because it is no longer buried beneath endless distraction. And over time, this quiet clarity changes your entire life. Your decisions improve because they come from awareness instead of pressure. Your focus deepens because your attention is no longer scattered. Your inner peace grows because your mind is no longer fighting itself constantly. And slowly you realize that the clearest answers in life rarely come during moments of noise and chaos. They come during moments of stillness, silence, and deep inner calm, where the mind finally becomes quiet enough to see reality without distortion. One of the biggest reasons people feel disconnected from themselves today is because they never truly stop long enough to listen inwardly. Their life is filled with constant noise, constant stimulation, constant activity, and while it may look normal from the outside, internally something important is being lost: self-awareness, because noise keeps you distracted from yourself. The moment silence begins, many people instantly search for distraction again. They reach for their phone, open another video, scroll endlessly, play music, or keep themselves busy with anything that prevents stillness, not always because they enjoy it, but because silence forces them to face what noise was helping them avoid, and most people are running from themselves without even realizing it. They stay mentally occupied every second because being alone with their thoughts feels uncomfortable. Silence starts exposing emotions they ignored, fears they buried, and truths they never slowed down enough to notice. So instead of understanding themselves, they escape themselves. And over time, this creates a dangerous pattern. Because when you constantly distract yourself, you stop noticing your inner condition. You stop recognizing how emotionally exhausted you are. You stop realizing how much anxiety, confusion, or emptiness has been quietly growing inside you. The noise becomes a mask. From the outside, life may still look active and entertaining, but internally, there is restlessness because the mind never truly reconnects with itself. And this is why many people feel lost, even while staying constantly busy. Because busyness is not the same as connection. You can stay occupied all day and still feel empty inside if you never pause long enough to understand yourself. You can surround yourself with entertainment constantly and still feel emotionally disconnected because distraction does not heal inner confusion. It only delays awareness of it. This is why silence becomes so important. Silence creates space for self-awareness to return. When distractions fade, you begin noticing things you were ignoring before. You begin understanding your patterns more clearly. You begin realizing what drains your energy, what hurts you emotionally, what truly matters to you, and what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. And that awareness changes everything, because you cannot improve a life you do not fully understand. Noise keeps you reacting automatically. Silence helps you observe consciously, and observation is powerful. When you observe yourself honestly, you start recognizing habits that weaken you. You notice emotional triggers that control your reactions. You see how much of your stress came from overstimulation instead of reality. And slowly, your relationship with yourself deepens. You stop needing constant escape. You stop fearing stillness. You stop avoiding your own thoughts. Instead, you begin learning from them, and this creates inner maturity. Because true self-awareness is not built through endless distraction. It is built through reflection, stillness, and honesty with yourself. The more silence you allow into your life, the more clearly you begin understanding who you are beneath all the noise, pressure, expectations, and distractions surrounding you. And eventually, you realize something powerful. The reason noise was so addictive is because it kept you from facing yourself, while silence was quietly trying to reconnect you with the person you had been too distracted to truly understand all along. In a world filled with constant noise, silence becomes a rare form of strength. Most people react instantly to everything around them. Every opinion affects them. Every criticism disturbs them. Every distraction pulls their attention away. Their emotions rise and fall depending on what is happening externally because their inner world has no stability. But silence changes that. Silence teaches you how to stay centered even when the world around you becomes chaotic. And that ability is powerful, because true strength is not always loud. Sometimes real strength is the ability to remain calm when everything around you is trying to pull you into reaction. It is the ability to stay emotionally balanced when pressure increases. It is the ability to observe without immediately responding, and silence develops this slowly. When you spend time in stillness, your awareness grows stronger than your impulses. You begin noticing your emotions before reacting to them. You begin understanding your thoughts instead of becoming controlled by them automatically. And that creates emotional discipline. Most people today are emotionally reactive because their mind is overstimulated constantly. They never pause long enough to process emotions clearly, so every feeling becomes immediate action. Anger becomes reaction. Fear becomes avoidance. Stress becomes mental chaos. But silence creates space between emotion and response. And inside that space, self-control begins growing. You stop reacting instantly to every situation. You stop allowing temporary emotions to control permanent decisions. Instead, you develop the ability to stay composed, thoughtful, and aware even during difficult moments. That is real inner strength, because anyone can stay calm when life is easy. But silence trains you to remain stable when life becomes emotionally noisy, and over time this stability changes your entire energy. You become less desperate for external validation, less controlled by other people's opinions, less emotionally dependent on constant stimulation. Your peace stops depending entirely on what is happening outside you because silence has strengthened something deeper inside you. You begin feeling more grounded, and grounded people move differently through life. They do not waste energy reacting to everything. They protect their attention carefully. They understand that emotional control is more valuable than emotional expression without awareness. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming conscious. It means feeling emotions without letting them completely control your behavior. It means remaining aware enough to choose your response instead of automatically reacting from pressure, fear, or anger. And this awareness grows strongest in silence, because silence slows the mind down enough for you to actually see yourself clearly. You begin recognizing emotional patterns that once controlled you unconsciously. You begin understanding what triggers your reactions and why. And with that understanding comes freedom, because once you become aware of your inner world, you stop being controlled by it blindly. This is why silence builds power quietly, not through force, not through noise, but through control. The control to stay calm. The control to stay focused. The control to stay emotionally balanced in a world designed to constantly disturb your mind. And the moment you learn how to sit in silence long enough to strengthen your awareness, emotional discipline and inner calm instead of constantly escaping into noise is the moment you begin developing a kind of mental strength that cannot easily be shaken by the chaos of the outside world. Real transformation rarely happens in noise. It does not happen when your attention is constantly scattered, when your mind is overloaded, or when your life is filled with non-stop distraction. True transformation begins in silence, in those quiet moments where you finally disconnect from the chaos outside and reconnect with what is happening inside you. Because silence changes your relationship with yourself. When the noise fades, you begin seeing things more honestly. You notice the habits that are draining your energy. You notice the thoughts that keep repeating. You notice the fears you have been avoiding, the emotional wounds you never slowed down enough to heal, and the patterns that have quietly been controlling your life for years. And this awareness is uncomfortable at first, because transformation always begins with truth, and truth becomes visible in silence. That is why so many people avoid stillness. Noise allows distraction. Silence allows reflection. And reflection forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you could become. But that confrontation is necessary, because growth cannot happen unconsciously forever. At some point, you must become aware of your own mind, your own habits, your own emotional patterns. You must stop running from yourself long enough to understand yourself deeply, and silence creates that opportunity. In silence, you begin reconnecting with your priorities. You start remembering what truly matters beyond temporary distractions and external pressure. You begin asking deeper questions about your life, your direction, your energy, and your purpose. Not the version of you that society expects, not the version created by comparison, but the real version beneath all the noise. And slowly, clarity begins returning. You stop feeling mentally pulled in every direction. You stop reacting automatically to every distraction. Your mind becomes calmer, more focused, more intentional. And this is where transformation quietly begins. Not through dramatic external changes, but through internal alignment. Because once your inner world changes, your outer life naturally starts changing too. Your decisions become wiser because your mind is clearer. Your habits improve because your awareness increases. Your emotional stability grows because your attention is no longer controlled by constant stimulation. And over time, you begin becoming someone different. Not because you forced yourself to change overnight, but because silence allowed you to finally hear yourself clearly enough to grow intentionally. This is why some of the most powerful moments in life happen alone, quietly, away from distraction. Those moments where you sit with your thoughts honestly, where you reflect deeply, where you disconnect from noise long enough to understand your own heart and mind again. Because silence reconnects you with what the world keeps distracting you from: your values, your purpose, your emotional truth, your direction. And when that reconnection happens, life starts feeling different, more intentional, more meaningful, more real. You stop living automatically and begin living consciously. And that is real transformation. Not becoming someone fake or perfect, but becoming deeply aware, emotionally grounded, mentally clear, and fully connected to the person you are truly capable of becoming. And the moment you stop fearing silence and finally allow yourself enough stillness to reconnect with your mind, your emotions, your purpose, and your deepest truth, is the moment your real transformation quietly begins from within, in a way that no amount of noise could ever create. And the moment you disconnect from the endless noise of the world and finally sit long enough in silence to hear your true thoughts, heal your inner chaos, and reconnect with who you really are, is the moment your entire life begins transforming from the inside out.